Hi, I'm John Belushi. Just having a cup of coffee before the show. It's kind of a tradition with me.
For decades, John Belushi was remembered as one of comedy's biggest stars, but behind the laughter was a side of his life that many people never truly understood. Before her death, Judith Belushi shared details about the man she knew beyond the fame, the performances, and the headlines. Her words revealed a much more personal story about John, his struggles, his ambitions, and the moments that shaped his life. Some of these details changed how people looked at the comedian they thought they knew. Join us as we uncover the truth about John Belushi's final years, the struggles he faced, and the story that was hidden behind his legendary career. The rise before the fall. John Belushi's story began far away from the bright lights of Hollywood. Before he became one of the most famous comedians of his generation, he was a young boy growing up in a hard-working immigrant family in Chicago, Illinois. Born on January 24, 1949, John was the son of Albanian immigrants Adam and Agnes Belushi, who came to America hoping to build a better future for their family. His father, Adam, understood the value of hard work from an early age. After arriving in the United States as a teenager, he worked long hours before eventually building his own restaurant business. His dedication and discipline became an important example for John and his siblings. His mother, Agnes, was also deeply committed to her family. Before focusing on raising her children, she worked as a pharmacy assistant, but her main priority became creating a loving home. The Belushi household was not wealthy, but it was full of energy, support, and humor. John grew up with his siblings, Marianne, Jim, and Billy, in a home where laughter was always present. Comedy became a way for the family to connect, especially during difficult times. From an early age, John had a natural ability to make people laugh, but he was also extremely competitive. He did not just want to entertain people, he wanted to stand out. That competitive side first appeared through sports. When the family moved to Wheaton, Illinois, John became heavily involved in football at Wheaton Central High School. He quickly earned a reputation as an intense and aggressive player. His determination and physical style of playing helped him become co-captain of the football team. Many people who knew him during this period saw the same qualities that would later define his comedy career: confidence, energy, and a willingness to give everything he had. After graduating from high school, John faced a major decision about his future. Although he considered continuing with football at Western Illinois University, he chose a different path. He briefly attended the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater before transferring to the College of DuPage in Illinois. At college, John began developing his comedy skills more seriously. He co-founded a comedy group called the West Compass Players, where he performed in small venues such as church basements and coffee houses. These early performances were not glamorous, but they gave him valuable experience. He learned how to control a room, create characters, and use his natural energy to connect with audiences. In February 1971, at just 22 years old, John took one of the biggest steps of his career when he auditioned for the Second City in Chicago. The legendary Improv Theater had already become a training ground for some of America's greatest comedians. John did not have traditional acting training, but his confidence, unpredictability, and powerful stage presence made him impossible to ignore. But his biggest opportunities were still ahead, and soon the comedy world would discover just how powerful John Belushi could be. The birth of a superstar. By the early 1970s, John Belushi had already built a reputation as a talented and fearless performer through Chicago's comedy scene. His time at the Second City helped him develop his unique style, but he was still searching for a bigger opportunity. He had the energy, creativity, and confidence, but he needed a platform where millions of people could see what he could do. That opportunity arrived through National Lampoon, a comedy group that was changing the way people viewed humor. In 1972, Belushi joined the cast of National Lampoon's Lemmings, a stage production that mocked the famous Woodstock Music Festival and the counterculture movement of the 1960s. The show was fast, loud, and filled with absurd comedy. It featured several performers who would later become major names, including Chevy Chase and Christopher Guest. Belushi quickly became one of the most memorable performers in the production. One of his biggest moments came when he played King Herod in a parody called Jackie Christ Superstar, a comedy version of the famous musical Jesus Christ Superstar. The performance allowed Belushi to combine his love of music, physical comedy, and exaggerated characters. He gave the role an intense energy that audiences immediately noticed. The success of Lemmings helped introduce Belushi to more people in the comedy industry. He was no longer just a talented performer from Chicago. Producers, writers, and other comedians were beginning to recognize that he had something special. His ability to completely commit to a character made him stand out from many other performers of the time. After gaining attention through live theater, Belushi continued developing his skills through radio. In 1973, he joined the National Lampoon Radio Hour, a comedy program that featured many future stars. The cast included Gilda Radner, Bill Murray, and Chevy Chase, who would all become important figures in comedy. Radio challenged Belushi in a different way. Unlike stage performances, there was no audience watching his expressions or physical movements. He had to rely entirely on his voice, timing, and ability to create characters through sound. This helped him become more precise with his delivery and improved his understanding of comedic timing. The National Lampoon Radio Hour also gave Belushi the chance to experiment with different voices and personalities. The fast-paced style of humor developed on the program would later become a major part of Saturday Night Live. The group created comedy that was quick, unpredictable, and willing to push boundaries. By 1975, television producers were looking for a new kind of comedy show. NBC was preparing a late-night program that would eventually become Saturday Night Live. Producer Lorne Michaels wanted a young group of comedians who could bring a fresh style to television. However, getting Belushi onto the show was not simple. Chevy Chase and writer Michael O'Donoghue strongly supported him and believed he would be an important addition to the cast. But Lorne Michaels was initially unsure. Belushi was known for being unpredictable, extremely physical, and difficult to control. Michaels worried that his style might not fit the direction he wanted for the new show. Everything changed when Belushi auditioned. During his audition, he showed the exact qualities that had made him successful in Chicago and with National Lampoon. He was energetic, fearless, and completely committed to his performances. Michaels saw that Belushi brought something different to the group and realized that his intensity could become one of the show's greatest strengths. Belushi almost did not become part of the first season because of a disagreement over his contract. NBC wanted the cast members to sign 5-year contracts that paid only $750 per episode. Belushi disliked the agreement and initially refused to sign. He considered walking away from the show before it even started. His manager, Bernie Brillstein, eventually convinced him to reconsider. Just before the first episode aired, Belushi signed the contract and officially joined the cast. The first episode of Saturday Night Live aired on October 11th, 1975. The show was far from perfect. The production was chaotic, the format was new, and nobody knew whether audiences would accept this style of comedy. But Belushi immediately made an impression. From the beginning, he brought an energy that was difficult to ignore. He became known for his fearless performances and his willingness to fully transform into every character he played. Within a short time, John Belushi became one of the faces of Saturday Night Live. His talent helped define the early years of the show, and audiences quickly realized they were watching a performer unlike anyone else. But as his fame grew, so did the pressure that came with becoming one of comedy's biggest stars. Fame, pressure, and the beginning of his struggles. By the late 1970s, John Belushi had become one of the biggest names in comedy. His time on Saturday Night Live had transformed him from a talented performer into a national celebrity. Millions of people knew him for his unforgettable characters, wild energy, and fearless style of comedy. He was no longer just another comedian trying to make people laugh. He had become one of the main faces of a new era in entertainment. However, success also brought new challenges. The more famous Belushi became, the more pressure he felt to continue proving himself. Audiences expected him to always be the funniest person in the room. Producers wanted him for bigger projects. Fans wanted more memorable performances. Belushi was known for giving everything he had on stage, but maintaining that level of energy became increasingly difficult. Behind the scenes, he often worried about whether he could continue reaching the same level of success. He was extremely competitive and wanted to be the best. The same drive that helped him become successful also created a constant need to push himself harder. His next major opportunity came in 1978 with the release of National Lampoon's Animal House. The The film became one of the most important comedy movies of its time and turned Belushi into a major Hollywood star. In the movie, Belushi played John Bluto Blutarski, a loud, rebellious college student known for his wild behavior and unforgettable personality. The role perfectly matched Belushi's strengths. He brought physical comedy, confidence, and incredible energy to the character. The movie was made on a relatively small budget of around $2.3 million, but its success was far beyond expectations. It earned more than $141 million at the box office and became one of the highest-grossing films of 1978. The success proved that audiences were ready for a different type of comedy, and Belushi became one of the biggest stars in the genre. Many of Bluto's most memorable moments came from Belushi's ability to create comedy through his actions. One famous scene involved him destroying a guitar during a party after being interrupted. Another unforgettable moment was the massive toga party sequence, which became one of the most recognized scenes in comedy history. Belushi also had a talent for creating funny moments that were not always planned. His physical style allowed him to turn unexpected situations into comedy. During filming, he could take a simple scene and make it more memorable through his expressions, movements, and timing. After the success of Animal House, Hollywood saw Belushi as a major star. His next big project was The Blues Brothers, a film that came from his popular Saturday Night Live partnership with Dan Aykroyd. The Blues Brothers started as an SNL sketch featuring Belushi and Aykroyd as Jake and Elwood Blues, two musicians wearing black suits and sunglasses. The characters became so popular that they were developed into a full-length movie. The film combined comedy, music, and action in a way audiences had rarely seen before. It featured performances from some of the greatest musicians in history, including Aretha Franklin, James Brown, and Ray Charles. Belushi was deeply passionate about blues music and brought that passion into his performance. However, the production was far from easy. During the making of The Blues Brothers, Belushi's drug use had become a serious problem. His dependence on cocaine was growing, and it began affecting his professional life. There were times when he disappeared from the set for hours or even longer periods, leaving the crew unsure of where he was. The production team struggled to manage the delays caused by his behavior. His talent was undeniable, but his personal problems were becoming harder to ignore. Dan Aykroyd and others around him saw that something was changing. Despite the difficulties, The Blues Brothers was released in 1980 and became a major success. The movie earned over $115 million worldwide and gained a loyal following. It showed that Belushi could succeed in a project that combined his different talents: comedy, acting, and music. While his career was reaching new heights, Belushi was privately dealing with growing problems. During this period, cocaine use was common in Hollywood, and many entertainers viewed it as part of the party lifestyle. At first, Belushi's drug use seemed like something manageable. He used it during late nights, parties, and demanding work schedules. But over time, it became something more serious. Belushi began relying on cocaine to deal with the pressure surrounding him. He used it to handle stress, exhaustion, and the expectations that came with fame. Friends and colleagues started noticing the changes. They saw that his energy was becoming harder to control and that his behavior was becoming more unpredictable. However, when he stepped in front of the camera, he continued delivering the performances that made him famous. To audiences, John Belushi was still the same brilliant comedian who could make millions of people laugh. But away from the spotlight, he was facing struggles that were becoming more difficult to hide. And as his career continued to grow, the challenges behind the scenes became even more serious. The woman who tried to save him. Behind John Belushi's public image as a wild and energetic comedian was a personal life shaped by a long relationship with someone who knew him before fame changed everything. That person was Judith Jacklin, his high school sweetheart, and the woman who remained one of his strongest supporters throughout his career. John and Judith first met before he became a famous performer. Their relationship began during their younger years, long before Saturday Night Live and Hollywood success. They built a connection when John was still trying to discover his path, and Judith saw his ambition before the rest of the world knew his name. The couple married on December 31st, 1976. By that time, Belushi was beginning to gain attention through comedy, but he had not yet reached the level of fame that would come later. Judith was not simply his wife. She was someone who understood his personality, his goals, and his desire to succeed. She supported him during some of the most important moments of his career. When Belushi joined Saturday Night Live, Judith stood beside him as he adjusted to sudden fame and the pressure that came with it. She watched him become one of the most recognizable comedians in America while dealing with the demands of television, movies, and constant public attention. Judith was also involved in his creative life. She played an important role in the development of the Blues Brothers, which began as a friendship and musical partnership between Belushi and Dan Aykroyd. She supported the idea and encouraged John's passion for music and performance. As Belushi's career grew, life became more complicated. The success that brought him excitement also brought new pressures. His schedule became demanding, and expectations continued to increase. Behind the scenes, he struggled with insecurity and the need to constantly prove himself. His growing drug use began to affect his personal life. At first, cocaine seemed connected to the party culture surrounding Hollywood at the time, but eventually it became a serious problem. Judith saw changes in the person she loved. John became more unpredictable, and his moods became harder to manage. There were times when he would disappear for long periods, leaving Judith worried about his health and safety. She watched someone who was full of creativity and energy become increasingly controlled by addiction. Despite her efforts, she could not force him to stop using drugs. Judith tried to help him in every way she could. She encouraged him to seek control over his habits and supported his attempts to become healthier. However, addiction created challenges that were difficult for both of them. Their marriage was affected by the distance, uncertainty, and emotional stress caused by his struggles. After John Belushi's death in 1982, Judith focused on protecting the memory of the man she knew beyond his struggles. She wanted people to remember him not only for his addiction, but also for his talent, humor, kindness, and creativity. In 1990, she published Samurai Widow, a book that shared personal memories about their relationship and life together. The book gave readers a more personal view of Belushi, showing the person behind the famous characters. Over the years, Judith continued honoring John's memory and worked to keep his contributions to comedy and entertainment recognized. Although she eventually built a life of her own, she never stopped caring about the man she had known before. Fame changed everything. But as John's personal struggles became harder to control, his final chapter was approaching, and the people around him began noticing how serious the situation had become. The final months. By the early 1980s, John Belushi was at the height of his professional success, but his personal life was becoming increasingly difficult. He had already achieved what many comedians dreamed of. He was a major star on Saturday Night Live, had become a successful movie actor through Animal House and the Blues Brothers, and was considered one of the most talented performers of his generation. However, behind that success, Belushi was struggling with growing pressure. The expectations around him became heavier with every new achievement. He felt that he always needed to prove himself and create something bigger than what he had done before. His success did not remove his insecurities. Instead, it often increased his fear of losing everything he had worked for. Belushi was extremely competitive, and he constantly compared himself with other comedians and actors around him. When some of his friends and former colleagues moved into new projects and bigger opportunities, he worried that he was falling behind. He wanted to remain one of the biggest names in comedy and felt pressure to maintain the same level of energy and creativity that audiences expected from him. During this period, cocaine became a major part of his life. At first, it appeared to be connected to the Hollywood lifestyle around him. Many people in the entertainment industry used drugs socially, and Belushi was surrounded by that environment. But for him, cocaine gradually became something more serious. He began using it to handle exhaustion, long work hours, stress, and the constant pressure he placed on himself. There was, however, a moment when Belushi tried to take control of his situation. In 1981, he starred in the film Continental Divide, a project that was different from the loud and physical comedy roles that made him famous. He wanted to prove that he was capable of more than just wild characters and could succeed in a quieter, more emotional role. During the production of the film, Belushi made a serious effort to stay away from drugs. His bodyguard, Smokey Wendell, helped him maintain a cleaner lifestyle during filming. Without the distractions that had affected him before, Belushi was able to focus fully on his performance. The result was one of his most controlled performances. In Continental Divide, he played a Chicago journalist who develops a relationship with a scientist living away from the city. The role allowed audiences to see a different side of him. Instead of relying only on physical comedy and exaggerated behavior, he showed that he could handle a more serious and thoughtful character. For a short time, it appeared that Belushi had found a healthier balance. He was proving to himself that he could succeed without relying on drugs. But that progress did not last. His next film, Neighbors, reunited him with Dan Aykroyd, but the production quickly became a difficult experience. Belushi disliked the direction of the movie and became frustrated with how the project was developing. The stress and disappointment affected him deeply, and he returned to heavy drug use. As his drug use increased again, those close to him noticed major changes in his behavior. He became more unpredictable and experienced intense mood swings. There were moments when his anger became difficult to control and his relationships with people around him became more complicated. On February 28, 1982, Belushi arrived in Los Angeles. He was supposed to meet with Hollywood executives and work on future projects, including writing ideas and possible film opportunities. Instead, his time in Los Angeles quickly turned into a dangerous period filled with parties and substance use. He stayed at the Chateau Marmont, a famous hotel known for attracting celebrities. Belushi rented bungalow number 3, where he spent much of his time away from public attention. Instead of focusing on his career plans, he became caught in a cycle involving cocaine, heroin, and late-night partying. During his final weeks, Belushi regularly visited popular locations around Los Angeles, including the Rainbow Bar and Grill, the Roxy, and Dan Tana's. These places were part of the Hollywood nightlife scene, but those close to him could see that something was wrong. The energetic performer, who once filled every room with confidence, appeared tired and unhealthy. His friends became increasingly concerned. On March 4, 1982, actors Robert De Niro and Harry Dean Stanton visited him at the Chateau Marmont. When they entered the bungalow, they found it in poor condition. The room was messy, with belongings scattered around, and signs that Belushi had been struggling. They tried to convince him to leave the environment and spend time away from the parties and drugs. They encouraged him to get help and step away from the situation that was damaging him. However, Belushi refused. At that point, the people around him could see that he was in serious trouble. His career had reached incredible heights, but his personal struggles had become impossible to ignore. Just days later, the situation would take a tragic turn, and soon, the world would learn the heartbreaking details of John Belushi's final night. The night John Belushi died. By early March 1982, John Belushi's situation had reached a critical point. The comedian, who had once been known for his incredible energy, humor, and creativity, was now struggling with serious personal problems. His drug use had become increasingly dangerous, and the people around him were growing more concerned about his health. Belushi remained at the Chateau Marmont in Los Angeles, staying in bungalow number 3. The hotel had become a private place where he could avoid public attention while continuing the lifestyle that was damaging him. Instead of focusing on his career plans and upcoming projects, much of his time was spent around parties and substance use. During this period, Belushi spent time with Kathy Smith, a woman who was involved in his final days. Smith had a history of drug use and was known to have supplied Belushi with cocaine and heroin. Their time together became a major focus of the investigation after his death because of the role drugs played in his final hours. By this point, Belushi's substance use had gone far beyond casual partying. His body was already under extreme pressure from repeated drug use, lack of rest, and the unhealthy lifestyle he had been following. Although he was still only 33 years old, his physical condition had become a serious concern to those close to him. On the morning of March 5, 1982, the situation took a tragic turn. Belushi's bodyguard and trainer, Bill Wallace, arrived at the Chateau Marmont to visit him. Wallace had come to deliver a tape recorder and a typewriter, as Belushi had been working on creative ideas and possible projects. When Wallace entered the bungalow, he found Belushi unconscious in bed. He immediately realized something was wrong and tried to wake him, but there was no response. He attempted to perform CPR in an effort to save his life, but the emergency efforts were unsuccessful. John Belushi was pronounced dead at the age of 33. The news shocked the entertainment world. Many people struggled to understand how someone who appeared so successful and full of life could die so suddenly. Belushi had become one of the most recognizable comedians in America, and his career seemed to be moving forward. His death showed the serious dangers he had been facing privately. The official autopsy later revealed that Belushi died from acute cocaine and heroin intoxication, a combination often referred to as a speedball. The findings confirmed that his death was directly connected to the heavy drug use that had followed him during his final years. The examination also showed the physical damage his body had suffered. Years of excessive drug use had taken a serious toll. While fans knew him as the energetic performer from Saturday Night Live, Animal House, and the Blues Brothers, the reality away from the cameras was much darker. News of his death spread quickly. Hollywood was immediately shaken, and many of his friends, colleagues, and fans expressed disbelief. People who had worked with Belushi remembered his incredible talent, his ability to make others laugh, and the intensity he brought to every performance. The Chateau Marmont soon became the center of worldwide attention. Reporters gathered outside the hotel, trying to learn more about what had happened. Cameras surrounded the location as the public searched for answers about the sudden loss of one of comedy's biggest stars. Belushi's death became one of the most widely discussed celebrity tragedies of the early 1980s. It raised questions about Hollywood's drug culture, the pressure placed on performers, and whether more could have been done to help him. For many people, the most painful part was knowing that Belushi's career was still developing. At just 33 years old, he had already achieved remarkable success, but there was no way to know what he could have accomplished if he had lived longer. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay with us for more fascinating stories.